Hi, Johnny Pitts. I'm so pleased to have you here with us today.
Great to be here.
Thank you for making the time. Before we dive in, I would like to briefly touch on your recent event with Natalie Ola, where you explored the topic of taste. You discussed good and bad taste. Could you summarize for our listeners what the main points of that discussion were?
I think it really emerges after the election of Donald Trump. I invited Natalie before I knew the result of that election, but I think her book is one of the most eloquent takes on why somebody like Donald Trump, who is inherited like 100 million when he was 18, and is a billionaire, why he resonates with so many people who are working class. And the way she breaks that down is very clever. And she thinks that there is a kind of gap now between the left and so many working class people, and that's expressed through a kind of liberal taste and the way that a seemingly casual taste can be encoded with signs and symbols that excludes working class people. Whereas her argument is that the one thing, and it's not a defense of Donald Trump at all, but people look at Donald Trump and understand what that means. His wealth is on display, whereas a lot of the kind of liberal left, the problem that she finds is that the wealth is quietly dismissive of working class people in a way that working class people can't quite work out, so that there's a fracture there. And so I'm really interested in that, because as the left tries to reassemble itself, we need to try and work out how we're going to make a space for messiness, for people who maybe don't understand the right etiquette. How can we bring what might have once been described as the lumpen proletariat, how can we bring them in again?
You grew up in Sheffield, also a working class city. I wanted to ask you, where does you think your own taste comes from?
It comes from pirate radio stations broadcast from the tops of now demolished high-rise estates, council estates. It comes from a very multicultural community. I grew up next to Yemeni next door neighbours. I grew up with Jamaican friends, working class white friends. So really feeling like empowered by many cultures and looking out at the world. I grew up in a small area of Sheffield on the outskirts, working class, but because of the nature of the makeup of my friendship group, I was always looking beyond the nationalism or the local identities. I was always looking wider than that.
And when we ask where does your taste come from, it also like implicit means like there's like a start, like there's like a start from a taste. Could this be also like the start perhaps described as curiosity, having like this curiosity to explore something?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing that I think is really breaks my heart about where I grew up, and I think a lot of people are like this, is when people are kind of dying of indifference, and they, for whatever reason, at a young age, they didn't have their any kind of passions cultivated. But I think at a young age, when you learn to be into things, to care and to watch and to want to gain knowledge, is such a powerful thing. And for whatever reason, I managed to get that at a young age, and it's something, but still within a working class environment. So that's what I'm interested in terms of taste. Maybe my taste is not what is considered good taste by bourgeois values, but I feel like I was given a lot of culture and taste from the ground up. I feel very lucky for that.
Like we mentioned it before, your recent exhibition at the Boynington Gallery focused strongly on the working class and its documentation. Do you see parallels between class and taste?
Yeah, I really do. And of course, it's very complicated. And when we talk about class, especially now, but in Britain, especially where there's a really pronounced class system, I think there is absolutely a relationship between class and taste. And my argument with that exhibition is we're used to seeing taste from the top down. You know, we're used to seeing curators from wealthy backgrounds tell us what is good and what isn't. And my argument is that actually there are other people who are making great work that doesn't fit in the mold of these curators and is not worth anything to these eyes. But I actually think I talk about a lot about this notion of the broken rose that blooms through concrete, and you find this a lot in the hip hop tradition. Everyone from Tupac to, I mean, soul singers like Aretha Franklin and and Benny King would talk about the rose that blooms through a crack in the sidewalk. Nobody's nurturing this rose, but it miraculously grows in this unloved place anyway. And that to me makes the rose even more beautiful, even if its petals are a little bit tatty, to try and explore the beauty of this rose that has miraculously bloomed without any kind of nourishment. That's what all my work is really about. And I think that's what you find in working class communities.
So taste can also be like something that brings people together, but it also can be like a part where like it separates people, where like there's no space for understanding each other because of different tastes, because also of valuing taste differently. Mm. My question would be like, can be taste also exclusionary?
Yes, when it comes with snobbery. And that's the big thing that really bothers me in the world is snobbery. You know, it's okay. You know, if you want to be into like platinum rings and diamonds, or you want to be into, I don't know, Matisse, or I don't mind, right? But don't be snobbery about people who are into other things, and that comes from the bottom as well. Like, I think one of the great things though about where I was from is that we were never snobs. I was into hip hop. I had a friend who was into like Oasis and indie music, and we just all accepted how fluid everything was, and I think that's really important. We can have our taste, but we shouldn't ever use it to judge other people, in my opinion.
So at the end, taste is also politically.
Definitely, for sure. And what was great about talking to Natalie Ola about bad taste. I mean, the subtitle of that book is "The Politics of Ugliness," and who decides what is ugly. And and when you look into that and question who are these people who decides if this is ugly or not, then you can start to unravel it, and that's when things get really interesting.
Finally, what would you say is the potential of taste?
The potential of taste. Oh, that's a good question. I think it's in its ability, when it doesn't come with snobbery, to connect, and to. I remember an interesting critic called Jonathan Meades from the UK. He once said, "There is no worthwhile art without mongrelization," and what it means is, yeah, all the best art really comes from a bunch of different tastes, high, low. It comes from all these when you blend it all together. And so I think the potential of taste is in, when it's used right, in connecting with people with different tastes and forging something new, fusion.
Thank you very much for the talk, Johny Pitts.
Thank you.